So, without further ado, what you've all come for this evening, what you're all waiting for, is the tree trimming program. So I'll invite up, I don't know if Donald's going to come up, and we have our subcontractor, our Eversource representative here as well, telling us how they're trimming to keep the power lines humming in Enfield.
Welcome, sir.
So I'm just going to give a brief introduction. Kevin Whitkos is behind me from Eversource, and Bear Levangie will give a...
Do you folks want to come up, or your call? You're welcome. You're welcome to come up.
And I gave this presentation last year because we couldn't get them to come. So I kind of gave what's going to happen, what happened last year for all the tree trimming. So this year, they are here, and they will do the presentation, and I will quietly walk backwards.
And I'd like to just hasten to add, all of these presentations are on the town manager's website, the slideshows. What we most recently did is we edited from the full town council meetings, and now these presentations with speakers such as Kevin and our guest here, citizens can watch the whole presentation, so they now will be able to hear what they have to say in addition to the presentation that they present. So I think it's just a much more fulsome review. We've had a lot of people looking. We have a good library of special visits and reports we have on there, and this will be up there tomorrow in both contexts. So I just wanted to add that for those at home who may want to watch last year's and tell their friends about this one.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Welcome. And if you wouldn't mind, just name and title, and the floor is yours.
Kevin, go ahead.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Whitkos. I'm the Community Relations Specialist for numerous towns in Connecticut, but Enfield is one of the towns that I am responsible for. In my role as a Community Relations Specialist, I'd like to say I provide a concierge-level service to the municipality. So your police chief, fire chief, town managers, public works director, they basically call me, and I run around Eversource and try to connect you to the right people, get the right answers. And part of that job tonight is our vegetation management group that is responsible for tree trimming, and Bear is with us this evening to go over her program as to how often we go out, we're trimming our lines, and to what specifications that we do that.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. My name is Bear Levangie. I'm an arborist with Eversource for the Tolland and Hartford area. This program is, albeit brief, but very detailed. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. This year, for 2020, these are going to be the circuits that we're going to be trimming and basically the specifications of what that looks like. So on the 23rd, we met with Donald Nunes. Thank you very much, Donald. To basically go over the work, our contractor is Asplin Tree Experts, LLC, and they'll be staging their equipment across from the dog park at the transfer station. They will not be refueling or performing repairs at the transfer station, and they'll have approximately 10 bucket trucks and chippers with each 3-person crews. They will follow the current town excavation permit policy regarding traffic control and use of off-duty officers, and Eversource contractor Asplin Tree Experts will go door to door requesting a consent signed from each resident for the proposed tree work for each property. There is no cost to the resident or the town, and the total trimming for 2020 for complete miles is 79.27 miles. This is the town map of the circuits that we will be trimming, and I'm not sure if the homeowners can actually see, or the people that are watching television can see the colors. But at the small little red spots are the enhanced tree trimming. The dark blue or navy blue is the backbone maintenance trimming. And the green is the scheduled maintenance trimming. And the little square block is the substation. And the town boundary is the absolute section around the border there. So this is the pamphlet that homeowners or property owners will receive. It's actually two-sided, so it's a tri-fold. There's a lot of information on this, so when you do get this, please take the time to look at it and review it. And this is the inside, this is the inside of the pamphlet, which basically talks about the customer benefits of why we trim, the critical trimming, about what that actually means, talks about the clearance specifications, it talks about risk trees, and our constant striving for increasing reliability for our lines.
To explain what the pictures are.
I will. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So for the last little brochure, this is a blow-up of each one of those pictures. So for scheduled maintenance trimming, which was the green line on the large town map, above each utility line is 15 feet above, 10 feet below, and 8 feet to the side. And tall tall growing trees under the wires are selectively removed. Branches are pruned to the ANSI A300 standards to reduce harm and limit resprouting. For the scheduled maintenance trimming, there's 54.18 miles. For backbone maintenance trimming, it's 8 feet to the side of the outermost line to the tree from the ground to the sky. Higher priority tree trimming impacts more customers, so that's why it's called backbone. Tall growing trees under the wires will be removed, and branches are pruned to the A300 standards to reduce harm and resprouting again. Backbone maintenance trimming is scheduled to be 24.05 miles. And then enhanced tree trimming is cut 8 feet from the electrical equipment from the ground to the sky, and higher priority tree trimming impacts more customers. So that would be more schools and hospitals, town buildings, municipal areas, anything with a larger customer impact count. Removal of all tall growing trees under the wires, and again, branches pruned to ANSI A300 to reduce harm and limit resprouting, and that'll equate to 1.04 miles. Again, this is another type of the notification. It's just a little bit larger image, and there'll be door hangers. So if the homeowners are not home, this notification will be left at their door, and then the actual trifold pamphlet as well. This is a insert that will go into that trifold where the customer will actually fill out the date, the property location, the town, and the planner will fill out the circuit number. And on this information, you'll notice that there's the description of the work being proposed and whether the homeowner agrees or wants a modification or objects. There'll be the information for the planner written in there as well, and so they can contact the planner directly. So Asplin must notify each tree owner or property owner, and the residents are required to sign this form for notification. And if they would like to keep the wood, they're more than welcome to keep the wood. This is the permit that the Eversource and towns sign collaboratively to basically grant work permitted each year. And how the tree work is performed, again, backbone or a higher population density takes priority. Decay-infested trees, insect-infested, damaged, or structurally weak trees will be removed. Small trees and saplings capable of growing into the conductors are normally removed before they're tall enough to make contact, because once they make contact, they can cause outages. Limbs are pruned back to the branch collar to prevent decay from pruning wood. And branches up to 15 inches diameter shall be chipped during scheduled work. Larger logs are stockpiled for future pickup within 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the amount of work in that circuit. This is my contact information at the top, and the two planners for this year's work is Alden Bianchi and John Koznicki. And should you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Councilor Riley.
Now, looking from the map, I can't really see that far away.
Yep.
Looking at the map, I can't really see.
I'll go back to the, yeah.
But it looks like a lot of District 4 is in there, which is a good thing, because last time in the windstorm, District 4 got hammered pretty good. So is there a way that it can be put up on the website, or a list of streets that are being done be provided?
Sure.
So that we know which ones are being done?
Sure.
All right, cool. Thank
Excellent. Thank you.
Councilor Kiner.
Thank you. What recourse do property owners have if they want to contest the removal of a tree?
If it's a town tree, they talk to their tree warden. If it's their own tree,
If it's on their property,
yeah, they can absolutely refuse removal. It's basically a discussion, though. So if it's a threat to the lines and the tree is damaged or infested of any sort of insect damage, or it's structurally weak, I basically will have a conversation with the homeowner to talk about the health of the tree and why it should be removed. If the tree is healthy, we don't have to remove it.
Now, if the homeowner still contests and wants to keep the tree, what happens?
They're more than welcome to, but I would highly suggest not doing that, because if the tree falls, it's going to take the lines down and creates a massive safety hazard for homeowners and neighbors, and also changes the reliability for everybody around them. So if their tree does fall on the lines, all of their neighbors are going to go out, and everybody on that circuit. So
as a last resort, you would go along with what the owner said. If the owner does not want the tree down, tree doesn't come down. Is that right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Sferrazza, then Councilor Longo.
Just a quick question, kind of peripherally related to this. When we have prolonged outages, I know we have an emergency operations center, and over the years, when I was with the PD, you would send a representative into our EOC during the storm. Do you still do that?
Yeah, that remains an option if Steve Hall, your emergency management director,
Right.
calls and says our EOC is open. We'd like to have a liaison come physically to our emergency operations center. We'll do that. We've changed our model a little bit. We prefer to keep those persons in-house if available, but remain in constant contact with your facility, because we feel that if they're housed in our building where our operations center is, they can walk down the hallway real quick and probably get an answer directly from the person that's making the decisions as to when a crew's coming, what are we looking at for restoration times, then trying to call in on the phone and waiting for somebody. But if a town demands somebody to be there, they'll be there.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Longo.
I was wondering, who is the actual tree warden?
Donald just took his test and he slam dunked it, and he's the tree warden.
Sorry, I didn't know. You wear many hats.
Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I just have a question. We had that large outage on Beverly, that last storm, and the neighborhood was out for almost a week. Now, the tree that caused that was in the middle of somebody's front yard. So, and it didn't look like many trees were trimmed in that area anyway. As I went down Beverly and the surrounding area, I don't know when the trees were last trimmed off of Hazard Avenue. So I guess, what was the final outcome with that? Because I sent somebody out there because the tree was, split in two, and it looked like the next time it was going over, it was going to take the rest of the lines. How was something like that resolved? Did the owner have to take that tree down? I don't remember what.
I know Donald did follow up if he wants to respond or if he wants to send information. I know we had a back and forth on that. I think part of the problem is what Bear had said. You have a resident.
This is the danger of leaving a tree
Yeah.
that's.
And we can't compel them to do it. And unfortunately, then if you have an untoward result, not only do you have the outage, but then they may have responsibility for any
Right.
personal injury or property damage to others. But I think we don't have the ability, and these are the experts, and Donald's the tree warden, to compel them to take down a tree. It would take a court action. It really would be, it's the type of thing in this country that there can't be a taking without due process. So
Yeah.
there would have to be, I imagine, we have a new town attorney. He'll be up here next time. He can give us the answer. I won't put him on the spot as to what that procedure would be, but
Yeah,
we
'cause-
looked into it, and it was a private matter when it was all
Right,
said
'cause
and
it-
done. Correct, Donald? Yes.
Right.
It's
You want
actually
people to be cognizant of the fact that when when the tree needs to be trimmed or be removed, that potentially it could be a large expense to the owner who decides that they're going to waive this being done.
No, I think it's a very
It
good
doesn't
point, Donna,
go back
because
onto Eversource for the
No, and when-
responsibility.
right.
It transfers to the owner of the
And,
tree.
I'm not speaking on a school. I know a lot of persons who want to have had larger trees removed. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. So if Eversource is there making an informed professional decision that, look, at this tree's sick or diseased, and you have the opportunity to have them do it at their cost, I'd avail myself of it, because as you say, Donna, once they're gone and there's an outage or damage, or it falls on a car in the street, you're on your own. So I know some people have planted trees when they're little saplings, or their grandfather did, and there is an emotional attachment. But hopefully you can differentiate between the two if you have a tree that does pose a risk to yourself, your neighbors, and the lines, to make the realistic decision. So hopefully, I know they have good people. They'll have people like Bear's assistants, the arborist, to have the discussion and try to prevail upon people and have their better judgment prevail, hopefully.
And if I can answer just a couple more of those questions. So you had asked about when what was trimmed last. Our circuits are trimmed every 4 years. Okay. And secondly, I would like to just reiterate that, and this may sound for folks that own properties, they get very, very excited about the very first time that they sign that mortgage payment or that deed. They get very excited about the property lines, and they own everything in that property line. There is a responsibility of the plants that are on your property. You do own those. So when you brought up thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people love their trees immensely, as I do as well. And at all costs, I try not to remove trees. But trees should be planted in the right place. So depending on the species, depending on the size, depending on the health, depending on how fast it grows, the motto in the arboricultural world is right tree, right place. So if you plant a sugar maple that wants to be 110 feet tall and 100 feet canopy wide spread right under the lines, we will cut it down. It's the wrong tree, and if people would love an education about that, that would be great. We can talk about it in Arbor Day potentially with Mr. Nunes. He does a great job in this town, and I think a lot of people, like you said, they see this sapling or they got it at an Arbor Day program where you get 10 trees for a donation, and they put it wherever they think it might be best suited, but it's oftentimes not best suited.
We're going to take you up on that. We do special presentations. I think that would be a fascinating one. We'll work with Donald to bring you back and maybe do that tutorial for our residents, and again, put it up so when people are considering shade trees or a fruit tree or whatever, your insight would really be helpful for them to put the right tree in the right place. So we'll take you up on that, Bear. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So just curious, in last question, so to sections of town that did get, or other towns maybe Enfield doesn't have the data, that you actually do cut, the trees get trimmed, is there data that shows, again, I mean, we have windstorms all the time, no matter what season, that does actually help keep you lose power less? So meaning is there, data that you can actually share? Because I think again, I'm just saying personally, I know there's a bunch of trees in our area that got cut where, again, I mean, we do have some power outages, but not like it seemed a few years ago after the big storm and, where it knocked down so many power lines. It seemed a lot more, maybe I'm just using in general, and I apologize, but, it seemed a lot more frequent about 5-6 years ago as it is now in certain sections of town. So I'm curious if you actually have that data.
We do have the data, yes. And part of that reliability also falls upon property owners refusing trimming. So if one of the planners comes to somebody's house and that customer refuses trimming, that's often the situation where we're getting outages. And so it's that education constantly.
I think that would be part of that presentation. I think it's important, and everyone wants to be a good neighbor, and I get that with trees, but if you have that one neighbor where you have the main line and you're not willing to trim that tree that's hanging over, and then we get a storm tomorrow, and everyone's out of power in freezing weather. I mean, there's got to be some reasonability and some, you know what I mean? And I think that's part of that. Because I think there is some data, and if you had, like, hey, look, in sections, even if it's outside of town where you've cut major trees in Tallinn or whatever, you've seen 2 or 3% less. I'm just saying, whatever the numbers may be.
We do. And what happens every 4 years is those circuits are then reevaluated. So for 2020, we have so many circuits that we're going to be trimming.
Right.
And the first ones that are trimmed are the ones with the worst reliability.
Right. And so I'm saying, the money that you guys invest in that, there's got to be a little bit of that ROI, for lack of a better word, on.
May we have that information? We'll be more than happy to
That'd be great. I think it'd be actually the help when you have that conversation.
As a whole,
right.
To the reduction in your outages and the duration of your outages
right.
have been reduced.
I think that's it's real data for someone who may not want to remove a tree for whatever reason, but and then tomorrow we get a storm that knocks it over, and if you're one of those properties that lose it, or one of those trees fall. I mean, we've seen in town where that section, District 4. I mean, some of those trees fall right through people's, garages and houses. Then that's a much larger problem than cutting some branches. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that data is important. I guess that's my question to you guys. So it'd be great to have that. I think that would help too when you actually have maybe those situations. They may be rare. I don't know. But I'm assuming some people may just say, you know what, don't cut my tree. But then that affects obviously not just you, but your neighbors as well. Right.
Right.
Yep.
One last question. So what happens if the homeowner just doesn't fill out the form? Do you just then do the work?
You keep
we try again, we try again, we try again. We just keep trying.
Okay.
Yep. If the tree is in contact by law, by state statute, we can come and trim it, but it's called breaking contact. So we won't do a full specification. We'll just break. So if I may, here's the tree branch and here's the wire and it's touching, we'll just take off the tips of the branches. Pruning back to the A300 standards that we abide by. But we're trying to prevent a fire, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? We obviously would love to have him come back. Donald
has a question.
Sorry, go ahead, Donald.
Yeah, I got a few more things. So.
Okay.
Kevin, you can stay there. Kevin, you can go. Go, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
So I just want to talk about schedule, which we didn't really talk about. So tomorrow I will issue the permit to Eversource to go start this work. So Asplund will be eagerly, aggressively knocking on doors because they want to get started. Wintertime is the best time for this operation. To Councilor Riley's concern, I will have this up before the end of the week. I'll have the map up and I'll have a list of streets that'll be up on our website. It'll be on the DPW's website.
Thank you so much.
And lastly, I just want to say, Asplund, the last round, really has stepped up when regarding the log removal. Now, again, as a word of advice and caution to those homeowners who want the wood, they say they want the wood, but then when they leave a butt the size of this table on, and you realize they don't have a chainsaw to cut it, then they say we don't want it now, and they really got to think twice before they really accept that, because again, when they have all those forms, like where is that? So when they sign that form, there on the bottom it says they agree to take the wood. So they leave, and then you folks call and say, you know, the wood's been laying there for a month, 2 months, and we had that problem a couple of years ago. Right. That's where some of that came in, that they realize how big those things are and they can't handle it. So again, it's just more of it's an advice thing to, you know, really make sure you can handle what's left.
What I would request,
like a good 6 to 7 meeting in March.
Well, for all the other reasons about where to plant, where not, but I would just ask you in talking to Asplund to make that clear to people, because I'm sure it's much easier for them to leave it. So if somebody says they want the wood, could they please tell the person what Donald just said, that maybe they do, Bear, okay, but make sure that they are doing that so that, you know, we don't have the buyer remorse afterwards.
Right, and again, Asplund has added more trucks, more log trucks to help clean up, because we had South Road, we had a lot of logs that were out for a long time. The last two trimmings ago, last year was considerably better, and I want to thank Eversource and Asplund for working with me to help do that, so that it's not left out in an eyesore for too long. So
possibly March-ish, probably a good time to come back, have this presentation if you have the time.
We could celebrate Arbor Day.
Perfect.
I think we should do it around then, and Kevin has also said they bring saplings and some other items that we could give to our residents to really make it'd be a really inclusive and I think be exciting event to do it around then. So we'll make the date, we'll work with our office, and we'll schedule it. Thank you both for coming.
Yeah, thank you both for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.